Creating a permanent underclass. The business minister condemned the comments and said the remarks were racist. Andrew Sabisky, just in case people don't know who he is, he resigned yesterday from Downing Street. He said, black people are not as intelligent as white people.
Well, he said that, and it was completely reprehensible. They were racist remarks. And as soon as that came to light, he left the government pretty quickly, and we've drawn a line underneath that.
Why wasn't he sacked?
I think he would have been sacked. I mean, I'm pretty sure that there was a lot of pressure for him to leave, and he jumped before he was pushed. That's my reading of it, but I don't know the actual detail. I think the vetting will be much more severe in any walk of life. I mean, I remember working in banks before I entered politics. You get people who slip through the net, who are recruited in perhaps in an unorthodox way, and they have sometimes have reprehensible views. This happens across our community, across our economy.
Well, the man who gave him the job, Dominic Cummings, we all know who he is, don't we? Well, he's been speaking this morning.
Mr. Cummings, are you a fan of eugenics?
Do you regret
Why did you hire
Sabisky's appointment?
Have you got any more weirdos?
Read Philip Tetlock's Super Forecasters.
Do you regret his
Instead
appointment?
of political pundits who don't know what they're talking about.
So do you regret his appointment?
Does number 10 condemn his views?
I thought he just said political pundits who don't know what you're talking about to
Yes,
the journalist asking him there.
He said better that than the political pundits who don't know what they're talking about.
Defiant
He actually said better that, but that was the inference.
Yeah, and what's very interesting about this whole row, which led to Andrew Sabisky's resignation last night, is Kwasi, the government minister, now coming out saying this is reprehensible, this is racist. As soon as it came to light, he was under pressure to resign. In fact, these comments came to light over the weekend, and Downing Street spent 2 days unwilling to comment or indeed condemn these remarks. There was a briefing yesterday with the Prime Minister's spokesman in which journalists said, what does the Prime Minister think about these remarks? Does he agree with them? There was no comment offered on any of that, certainly no condemnation, which resulted in 2 days of bad headlines before Andrew Sabisky appeared to resign on his own terms last night. He suddenly tweeted that after what he called a character assassination and what he called mad coverage of things that he'd written online 6 years ago, he's now 27 years old and works in number 10 in some capacity. He said that he was resigning because he didn't want to be a distraction from the work of the government. Now,
let's be honest, he was given the whiskey and the revolver, wasn't he, and told to go and do the right thing. But why did it take so long? That's got to be the question for people like Dominic Cummings and the Prime Minister.
Dominic Cummings put out this call for misfits and weirdos to join number 10, appears to have found one. We don't know how as Kwasi Kwarteng was saying there, we don't know how Mr. Sabisky was hired, what job he was doing at the heart of government, or how he was vetted for that job. Did anyone do any vetting, as should be done for people going to work in number 10 Downing Street? We don't know the answers to any of these questions, and it would seem that Mr. Cummings is still feeling very defiant about hiring him in the first place, even though it seems to have dawned on other members of the government that people with those sort of views should not be there. So the question that journalists were asking him there, are there more weirdos to come? That is a pertinent one, because Downing Street have still not told us the specifics of Mr. Sabisky's employment, what he was doing, and whether there are others to follow him.
And Kwasi Kwarteng, I asked him that very point, and he said it needs more rigorous vetting in the future.
Yes, he says that he thinks that these processes will be looked at in the future. So is Mr. Cummings' recruitment drive going to have its wings clipped straight away? Or, I mean, surely even a cursory look through what someone has written online. Some of the posts he wrote were actually on Dominic Cummings' own website. So the two seem to know each other, and you detected a degree of anger there that the guy he hired, who calls himself, Mr. Sabisky called himself a super forecaster. These are not the only things he's written online. He's written a whole host of things which could be taken offensively in different ways, but it seems that his career has ended, but is the whole drive to recruit oddballs and misfits to Downing Street going with it?
Yeah, super forecaster. I wonder if he saw his own demise. Thank you very much indeed, Tamara. Thank you. Just after 25 to 9, returning to the UK, floods now. The most severe rainfall